All right, we've got Barton Level 5, lesson number 7. This one's a doozy as far as spelling goes. Reading, a little bit easier. Spelling, very tricky. Okay, so we're going to start off by reminding students that we have these red tiles over here and that they're called units. And when we have these 3 letters and what we're going to work with is 4 letters down here that come together, they make an unusual sound. So I'm going to make this smaller here. So this one would say all, doesn't say as an apple, it says aw. And this one says ink, it doesn't say I as an itchy, it says e. So that's why it's called a unit in this curriculum. So we're going to take a look at this one, and this is a unit, and it actually says shun. So if I was writing this out in a dictionary, it would probably look like shun, okay? And we use it obviously in all kinds of words, okay? Like we've got the word nation, the word election, the word condition. So again, reading it is actually pretty easy. We're going to point out a couple things like in a 3-syllable word, you're still working with the confident rule. That's why this says I as an itchy here and not I. It's not condition, it's condition. Same thing with the word ignition. We've got the confident rule going on. This word would be divided here, except, shun. And we always talk about, you know, the related word in here is except. Combination, go ahead and divide that up. Combination, combination. And the related word for that is combine, okay? So then, once we're done with that, we introduce them to another unit, which is the SION, okay? And this unit can actually make 2 different sounds. It can say shun, just like the TION, okay? So it can say shun, but it can also say zhun, so it vibrates, zhun. So, what happens is it depends on what is right before that sound, whether it says shun or whether it says zhun. So let's take a look at this word. The word is confusion. So this U vibrates. This is a vibrating sound right here. All of our vowels vibrate, which means it vibrates in our throats right here. Confu, which means that this is going to vibrate. Zhun, confusion. Okay, so that sound right there is making the zhun sound. Students are going to learn that whenever you hear the zhun sound, you're automatically going to spell that S-I-O-N. Okay, so let's look at the next word. We've got dc, it as an itchy. Again, vowels vibrate, so the next sound is going to vibrate. Decision. Okay. Television. And again, we've got television. We've got 2 short sounds right here, even though they look like they're open syllables. They actually are following that confident rule, which just reminds us that those E's and I's in the middle can make their short sound. Okay. Now here's one. You notice that this is now after a consonant, and so it's going to say shun. Man, shun. It does not vibrate. Man, shun. Man, shun. Okay. So since this is after a consonant, just goes back to the regular old shun sound. Okay. Same thing with this one. 10, shun. This is a consonant, so it's not going to vibrate. It's not. It's going to go back to its regular old shun sound. Okay, so same with this one, which is the word extension. Now we go to a word like mission. Now this one's a little bit trickier because if I was dividing it up, I would hear I as an itchy right there, and I would pull this apart. This is going to go over here. And the reason that this has to have 2 S's is because of that happy rule. Short vowels must be closed. If I didn't have that other S, this would actually say my zhun, my zhun. So we have to make sure that students remember that. You got to double the S to make that short, mi shun. Okay, so that's the reading part of it. It's tricky, but it's manageable. Here comes the spelling part. Okay, so this is just tricky. All right. Okay, so what I would do is I have students really tap the first couple syllables that they can hear so that we can really focus in on what they're hearing at the end of the word. So I say the word invasion, okay? So I would say, what are your first two syllables? It would be in and they. And then I would say, now what's the last sound you hear? Invasion, zhun. Well, we know whenever we hear zhun, it's always going to be spelled with an SION. If it vibrates and we hear that, it's SION, okay? Let's do another one. The word is erosion. Again, I hear zhun, but let's just spell up until that point. The first syllable is E. Second syllable is ro. The last syllable is zhun. I'm going to spell right up to there. Okay, erosion. Now I know when I hear zhun again, I'm going to spell it with an SION. Okay, the next word is going to be the word production. Production. So let's spell up until we hear the shun at the end. Production. So we've got pro, duck, d, k. And now what I'm going to teach them is that anytime after most consonants, there's only one. Of course, there's one, but after most consonants, if you hear shun after most consonants, it's going to be TION. Okay, so production. Now, let's talk about what are the exceptions to that. Well, here's our first one. Our first one is going to be convulsion. Convulsion. Those are the three syllables. So the first syllable is con. So let's spell that, con. Your second syllable is vol. V, a, ol. All right. Now we're going to start talking about something that we're going to call, I'm just going to call them N's and L's because that's obviously what they are. Sometimes I call them nice letters. They're kind of screwing things up though, so I'm not going to do that this time. After N's and after L's, or after L's and N's, you're going to use an SION. Okay, so for sure after an L, so I told you this rule, I told you, I'm going to give you some resources to help with it, so just hang on. Okay, so after an L for sure, we're going to spell with an SION, so convulsion right there. Okay, then we've got the next word, which is going to be the word pension, pension. Okay, so what sound is the SION making? It's making the shun sound, but it's spelled SION. So one way to spell shun after an N is SION. Okay, great, but let's look at the word convention, and now this is also after an N, and it's a TION. So for those, your student is going to need to look them up. Okay, so the way that we would look them up is let's do the word mention. Mention. Okay, they're going to spell their first syllable men. And now we don't know. Okay, so what I would have them do is look up if they have a spell checker. If they have their Franklin spell checker, that's what they're going to do. This is going to be how they're going to look it up. MEN ?ION. Hit enter. Now, if they're at home and they don't know, I'm going to ask Alexa or I'm going to ask Siri. and I want them to not be guessing. And so this is the way that we make sure that our students are not guessing, is by looking things up and being sure, okay? And that's how our brains start to map these words. So they're going to figure out that mention is a TION. Okay, let's do the next word. The next word is expansion. Okay, we're going to spell the first two syllables. X, pan. Okay, so herein lies our problem because we're back right up against an N and it sounds like shun. So I don't know. It could be SION, it could be TION. So again, I'm going to type it in. I'm going to look it up. EXPAN question mark ION, and I'm going to see that it is indeed going to be an SION tile. Okay, expand to expansion. Okay, so far we've talked about if it says zhun, it's spelled SION. We've talked about if it comes after most consonants, it's TION. If it's an L, it's SION, and if it's an N, you have to look it up. Now we're going to talk about what to do after long vowels, okay? So let's look at the word vacation, vacation. In the word vacation, there's a vowel, a long vowel right before shun, okay? So after a long vowel, you're only going to use TION. And again, I'm going to give you a resource, okay? So I'm going to give you something that you can use. So let's spell up until then. We've got ve, k. Now, do you hear shun or zhun? I hear shun. It's always going to be TION, okay? Let's look at the reasons why for this one. If we had forgotten and we put the SION, because this A vibrates, again, vibrating goes with vibrating. So because this A vibrates, this would cause this word to say vacation, vacation. And you don't want that, okay? All right, let's figure out what happens after a short vowel now. Let's catch ourselves up, sorry. Okay, so donation. Okay, so again, long vowel right here. It's got to be TION. Donation, because I hear shun. Okay. Okay. So this word says ambition, and it has the short I as an itchy sound right here. So after a short vowel, you can spell shun with TION, like ambition. Okay, but then we also have a word like shun. Again, it's still saying shun, okay? But it's got the SSION, okay? So the only other way that you're going to be able to spell after that short vowel is going to be either with a TION or with an SSION. Short vowels must be closed. If you can't hear anything closing it off, double the next sound you can hear, which is the S. That is going back to the happy rule. Okay, so we've got session. So that brings us up to a word like nutrition. I have two choices right now. I have TION after a short vowel, and I have SSION. So I would have your student use their best guess here. And then double check their work. Okay, again, we want them to be right. Good guessing is not good reading or good spelling. So we've got the word nutrition. So they, again, two choices after the short vowel, TION, SSION. The word profession, as an Eddie, that's a short vowel right there. You're going to have to pull down the TION, or it's going to be the SSION, again, because we're working after a short vowel. So they would need to look it up, and we would see that profession is spelled this way. So in the Barton notebook, on or around page 87 is a flowchart for this. What do you hear? Do you hear shun, or do you hear zhun at the end? And then we can break it down and follow the flow chart from here, okay? So is there a consonant? Is there an N? Remember, you've got two choices then. You'll have to look it up. Is there an L? The whole thing. So trust me when I tell you that we learned this in level 5. We refine it in level 6 when we work on silent E. And we get even better at it when we do level 7. It's sort of like learning fractions, you know, in 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. So I know it's convoluted. It's tricky. We have a lot of games that we can play with them. If you ever need to check out a game that you can play at home, just shoot me an email. I have plenty of actual card games that you can play at home that work on this rule pretty extensively. But inside the lesson notes and resources, there's also a lot of other things. So, you know, take your time with this one. This one's a tricky one. Let's look at the practice work. Okay. So, starting here, it would just be drawing, draw a line. Switch your screen, Lynn. Switch your screen, Lynn. Or you got to redo this whole thing. Okay, so draw a line to complete the word. So we've got objection, repulsion, prevention, solution, concession, attention, and compulsion. Okay, say the word, circle the word if you hear that it says zhun. Okay, so okay, zhun. Yep, I've got a zhun right there. Expulsion. Yep. Collision. Television. Erosion. Mission. That's not a zhun, that's a shun. Dimension. Comprehension. Confusion. Omission. Depression. Division. Profession. Illusion. So those are the answers for that one. And then make real words by changing the order of the syllables, write the real words. So you can take a screenshot of this if it goes by too fast, but here are the answers for that, just in case you need them. Fluency drills. Again, you know, this is a hard spelling rule. Sometimes students have been avoiding words that have the TION because they just don't know what they say. But for the most part, students have been exposed to this. They're just a little unsure about it. So if I was having trouble decoding, I would probably box off the shun or zhun and start decoding that way. Action. I would box this off and I would, you know, have this mark the other. Vacation. Let's do prescription down here. Again, box it off. Mark it. Prescription. Open here. Closed here. Okay, so 2 pages of lesson 5.7. All right, so decode, don't guess. And we'll see you next time.